So in this video today, I'm going to show you how you can build a super easy question and answer AI agent chatbot. So you're going to be able to give this agent a very large document, a PDF document, and you're going to be able to chat with it. It's going to be able to retrieve information from the document just using Slack. So let's start off with a quick demo. So I have got this 39-page research paper from OpenAI, and I've got this plugged into my Gumloop automation. Now, this all happens within Slack. So next I'm going to open Slack, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it a question that the answer is basically found here on page 3, where it talks about how using a model like GPT-4o is very effective at monitoring for reward hacking behavior. So this is the answer I'm going to be fishing for. So the question that I'm going to ask, again, this happens all inside of Slack. You can see I've been playing around with it. So my question is, can a weaker model like GPT-4o effectively monitor a more capable frontier model for misbehavior, right? So I'm going to send this question off to Slack. And what's going to happen is this is going to kick off the automation inside of Gumloop. If I come into my run history in Gumloop, we can see this is running right now. So I can open this up and we can check out what's going on behind the scenes here. So it's going to read this file with a file reader. So again, it's a 39-page PDF. Now it's taking in the Slack message. It's extracting some data. It's using a RAG similarity search. And you can see it's going through all of the rest of the steps, and we'll get into the steps. So let's see what happens when I go back into Slack. And here we have an answer. So based on the provided context, yes, a weaker model like GPT-4o can effectively monitor for a more capable frontier reasoning model for misbehavior. The context specifically mentions GPT-4o can effectively monitor a superior reasoning model. So it's pulling that correct answer right out of the PDF. Again, this is a 39-page PDF document that we're able to chat with just through Slack. So let me just walk you through this flow in Gumloop, and then we can build it out step by step. But we are effectively building a RAG agent natively in Gumloop. You know, I was watching a couple of n8n demos trying to do RAG and having to do Pinecone and a separate Pinecone account and uploading files in Pinecone and then integrate the Pinecone into n8n. We don't need to do any of that, okay? Gumloop has a native similarity search node here, okay? So this node allows you to search through a large text by breaking it down and finding the parts that are most relevant to your search terms, similar to how you might search for a specific topic in a book by looking at the index, right? So this is effectively RAG natively built into Gumloop, okay? So this is really the engine, this node here that's powering this entire automation, right? It's the advanced node similarity search, okay? Utilize embeddings to index a large body of text and returns the chunks most relevant to your query. That's how we're able to send a Slack message, and it's going to read a 39-page PDF and give us the exact answer that we're looking for. It starts with a Slack message, but we are using a file reader at the top, which is essential here. So this is how the document itself gets into Gumloop and gets into the RAG agent. Then we're going to extract the Slack message. Here is the similarity search. We're sending the Slack message with the file to the similarity search node, and then we're asking AI to give us the answer, right? So based on the search query in Slack and based on the document, give us the answer to our question, and then Ask AI is going to send it back to us in Slack. So this is not a complex automation at all, and one you can easily set up yourself. All right, so let's build this out step by step inside of Gumloop. Okay, so I'm in my homepage here, and we just want to do a new flow from scratch. And we can give this a name here. We can do knowledge base YouTube. And again, this is going to trigger on a Slack message. Okay, so we send a message to Slack, and that kicks off the automation. So let's go into the node library. Let me search for Slack here, and this is going to be a message reader. And the first thing we want to do is activate this as a flow trigger. So when the message comes in, that's going to activate the entire automation. If you're not connected to Slack inside of Gumloop yet, obviously you're going to have to do that. It's single sign-on. It takes just a second. Find the channel that you want to do this with. I have my Gumloop knowledge base over here. For message information, we can leave messages. Ignore bot messages. We can leave that off for now. And we are now configured to get this started with Slack. Next, we need a file reader node, because if we think about it, we're going to be using, in this example, a 39-page PDF. So how do we get the contents of that PDF to our RAG node? So that's where we need to pull in the file reader. So I'm going to drag this over here. I'm going to just kind of drag it next to my Slack node, because they're kind of both starting the automation kind of at the same time. And what you can do is, you see the folder icon next to file name. You can click show files. So I already have my PDF, the OpenAI research paper, but this is where inside of Gumloop, you can upload files to your account. Now, once you have the file uploaded, now you can go into the drop down to find the file name. It's called OpenAI paper. Okay, so I'm going to select this. So now my file reader is going to read the contents of this 39-page PDF, and we can pass this through the rest of the automation. All right, the next node that I'm going to put on my canvas here is to extract the Slack message. Okay, so when a Slack message comes in through Gumloop, it doesn't just include the message, it includes the name and the time and some other information. And so what I want to pull out of all of that is just the message itself, right? Because I'm going to be asking questions to the AI. I don't want the AI to get the time and the date and my name, to get that all confused. So I just want to extract the message itself. So I want to go into my node library and use this extract data node. And I'm going to drag this down a little bit, and I'm going to connect this to my Slack output. And Gumloop just updated their interface. It's a lot cleaner. And so you can just drag the output directly into this input. And now the inputs, if you have more than one input, it will show on the side, like you can see in my example here. So you can see for the extract data node, I can pull in the Slack message. Okay, so what is the content to extract from? So I want to extract from my Slack message. So you can see it's this little variable here now that I can just drag in like this. So I'm going to be extracting from messages. And now what data, I mean, I could put additional context, but this is very simple. I don't need to. So what data am I extracting, right? So the name of the data, I'm just going to call it the user's message. And for the description, just to add a little more context, I'm going to say the user's full message and only the user's message, right? That's all that I want this node to do, is pull out the question that I'm going to be asking in Slack and nothing else. Okay, so this is now connected to the Slack node, and we can send this through the rest of the flow as well. All right, so next we want to get that similarity search node, which is basically a RAG functionality built right inside of Gumloop. This is incredible here. So I'm going to search for similarity. I'm going to drag this onto my canvas over here, and we're going to be doing two inputs here. Okay, so we need to give it the text from the file reader. In other words, we need to give it all of the PDF documents. Okay, so I'm going to take the file reader and I'm going to drag that into similarity search. And then we have that as a variable that we can include in the node. Okay, so that's going to be the text that the RAG node will be going through. So I'm going to drag file contents into the text box here. All right, so the next thing that we need is the query. What are we searching for, right? And we're going to grab the Slack message that we are extracting from the extract data node, right? Which is going to be, our question. So let me actually drag this down a little bit more, and I'm going to drag the output from extract data also into here. Okay, so now with the new Gumloop interface, a node can have more than one input from more than one node. So now we can see that we have another input here, which is the user message from the extract data node. So I'm going to drag that into the query. Okay. And then these other results, I'm just going to leave as is. This is the number of relevant results to return. So I'm going to leave this for 2. So it's going to, in that 39-page PDF, it's going to find the 2 most relevant chunks to return. And then the chunk size is 1,000 as the default. And as they describe it right here, it's the size of each text section, which roughly corresponds to words or punctuation marks, right? So about 1,000 words. So I'm going to leave those results or those settings as is. And now our similarity search is set to run, and we can come in here and test our flow at any point. So what I can do is test this with a new Slack message. So let me come into Slack, and the question that I'm going to ask is about the risks of applying strong optimization pressure to the chain of thought during training. So let me send that off, and I'm going to come into the PDF to show where I'm getting that kind of question from, right? Applying optimization pressure. And it says excessive optimization encourages models to obscure their true intent, effectively decoupling the reasoning from their action and degrading the chain of thought utility for monitoring. So this is kind of the answer that I'm looking for. Now let's hop back into Gumloop here, and I'm going to come into my history, and I can see it's running, and I actually have my other one that I forgot to turn off. So we may get a double answer because 2 of them appear to be running, but this is the one we're working on. Let me go to the view run here. I forgot to turn that other one off. So we might get a double answer in Slack. Actually, we don't have the Slack message receiver yet, so that should be fine. So this is the current run. So it's still reading the file. And again, up until this point, we only have the Slack message reader, the file reader, the extract data node, and the similarity search itself. So it's going to take probably 45 seconds to a minute to ingest that entire 39-page PDF. All right, so we can see it has read the whole file, okay? So let's see, this is what it's outputting, okay? So this is all of the text of that PDF document. It's humongous. So it's passing this to the similarity search. Let's look for the Slack message reader. Again, I had the other version of this going as well, but it seems that it grabs. So this is the message, the full message from Slack. Remember I was talking about earlier that a lot of information comes in from the message, including the date, the time, the thread idea, who the message is from, and then finally the message itself. So this is what Slack is outputting in full. And then the extract data node, let's see if it successfully extracted the message. So this is why we use that extract data node, because this is all we want to grab out of the message, which is the question itself. Now we can go to the similarity search, and we're inputting the message, and we're inputting all of this information. So we don't have the nice answer yet, but we do get the output, which is the relevant chunks. And so it talks about optimization pressure on the chain of thought. So it's going to pull in 2 different chunks of text here. And the second one is over here. So let's see if it actually grabbed that PDF. So let's search for applying optimization. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Oh, it did. So this is, it nailed it. All right. So this is what we want. Okay. So think about it. What this is doing is it's taking our question, and in that 39-page PDF document, what I instructed the node to do was go find 2 relevant chunks. Okay. And this is the first chunk it pulled out. And this is the relevant part of the answer that I was trying to grab, or I was trying to get from this PDF over here, where it says excessive optimization encourages models to obscure their intent. And that's this section right over here. So in terms of the RAG part of this automation, it did pull in the correct section. Now, of course, we haven't finished the automation. We're just testing this right now. We still need to run this through AI to give us a coherent answer. But in terms of the RAG setup, this is working well. So in order to get a coherent answer out of the similarity search results, what we want is to add another AI step. So in the node library, what I'm going to do is grab this very first node, which is the Ask AI node, okay? And so what I'm going to do is basically give it the Slack question, give it the chunked out information from the similarity search, and then I'm going to have Ask AI node generate the final answer for us. And we're going to need to do another step that I'll explain in a second, but we can start with this. So what I want to drag first is the user's message from extract data. So this is the actual question that we're going to ask in Slack. All right, so I can see I have this pulled up here, and this is going to be our prompt. So let's handle the prompt part of this first. So I'm going to say, I have this on my clipboard here. I'm going to say, please answer based on the provided context. And then I'm going to drag the message after that. Okay, so this is going to be the question. So please answer based on the provided context, and then I'm pasting the question. So it knows what question to search with the context of the similarity search node. So if I try to drag this output here, it's going to probably throw me an error here, okay, because it's expecting just a single input, a single text input, where what the similarity search is giving me is a list, because there's two pieces. Remember, there's two chunks results because of our number of results. So this is outputting two items in a list, but the Ask AI node only wants one. So we need to add another step between this. So we cannot connect this directly. So we can fix that pretty easily with a different node. So I'm going to go into my node library and search for this get list item. And this is basically going to just take the output from the similarity search, which is a list of two items, and kind of mush it down into one. And that will kind of make the Ask AI node happier. So I'm going to drag this onto the canvas and drag the output from the similarity search into my get list item, and then drag the relevant chunks as the input for my list. The index I'm going to keep at 0 over here. And now I'm going to drag the output of the list into my Ask AI node. And now when I want to give it the context, I can do it from the get list item. So I'm going to drag that as the context. Okay, that looks like it should be working. So I'm saying, please answer based on the provided context. Then I'm giving it the question, which is the Slack question. And then I'm passing in the context through the get list item node, which is basically just smushing down the results of the similarity search node. And then when we look at the rest of our flow, I don't see any errors. So let me save that, and we should be good with this one. All right, so the last node that we need is we want to pass the answer from Ask AI back to us in Slack. So in the node library, I'm just going to search for Slack here, and I'm going to get a message sender. So I'm going to drag this on my canvas here. And again, I'm going to drag the output from Ask AI, which is basically the answer, right? The Ask AI node has the full answer. So I want to send that back to myself in Slack. And then for the message, I want to drag the response from Ask AI right into there. And we want to make sure that we're in the same channel that we were before. So let me just refresh my channel, and I think it's Gumloop knowledge base. So we have the message coming from Ask AI into our message field over here. Everything else we can leave as is. And now we can test this inside of Slack. All right, so for this test, I am going to ask it about reward hacking here and why it's a critical failure in modern AI systems. So it's this part of the PDF here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go into Slack here, and I'm going to say, what is reward hacking and why is it a concern in reinforcement learning settings? Okay, so let's send that off, and then we can hop back into Gumloop over here. And when I go to my history, let me just refresh, and we can see this one is running right now. So I can click into this and I can click view run, and it's going to show me everything that's happening in the background. So it's still reading the file. Again, that takes about 45 seconds, and then it's going to kick off the rest of the flow. All right, you can see it's now doing the Slack message reader. It's extracting the data from the Slack message. It did the similarity search, flattened the search, used Ask AI, and it sent the message back to me in Slack in about 2 minutes total. So if I hop back into Slack over here, you can see reward hacking refers to the phenomenon where AI systems exploit flaws and their learning objectives to achieve their goals in unintended ways. So you can see it grabbed this answer directly from the very first sentence right here. So it's able to go into the PDF, find the exact portion from the question that I'm asking, and then spit out a full response back to me right inside of Slack. So I hope you enjoyed this automation. Give me a like and a follow if you did, and let me know in the comments what you want to see next.